really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I don't want to dismiss that Daniel he's had a good run here. It reminds me a lot of Alex Smith that we had in Kansas City, who I thought was just the ultimate professional. Day in and day out, the team knew exactly what they were getting, and I feel that's kind of the same thing with Daniel. So let's don't lose sight of Daniel did some good things. And then going to Anthony, I know the negativity, and it's easy to say he's done. I do not agree with that. I think overcoming challenges and obstacles along the way are good for anybody. I do. I'm proud of Anthony, of where he's at, how far he's come. He's come miles. I mean, I want you to think back, and it's tough on any young quarterback in this league. But for him to keep taking the growth steps that he has, and to work so hard and then not get the goal for himself, all right, now to continue to do that, that's when we got a chance to see real growth. And there's some value, there's a lot of value in sitting behind a guy that's a professional and watching and learning and growing and working on the things you need to work on without the same pressure of being the starter. There's a lot of good to that. And I know everybody thinks that a 20, 21, 22-year-old young man should be a grown man, all right, in everything they do. But that's not the case in any world. With anything you're doing in life. Like, these are young people, and it takes some time. So to watch him grow and to continue to mature and then to handle the adversity, like, there's two ways you can handle this. Like, you can go in the dumps or you can accept the challenge. And accept the challenge to keep getting better, be prepared, continue to work on your fundamentals, continue to work on the daily game planning that has to happen as a quarterback, to collaborate with the other quarterbacks in your game planning, and then being ready to go because you're one snap away. That's real.
When you made the move, has anyone contacted you about trading, get him in a trade?
Yeah, no, but we're not trading him.
It's Chris Ballard a little bit earlier today, the Colts general manager, and that's how we get started on this Wednesday edition of the show. Thank you all for joining us on what is the springboard into, really, we start the weekend coming up tomorrow. I'll explain. I'll remind throughout the course of this show for tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. I mean, hell, for some of you, if you know me, Sunday as well, Paradise Day Watson. I will say this. What was the part again? Play the part where he said this is good. I know, James going, hey, thanks a lot. Blank weed. So the part where this is good. I'm sorry. Maybe I just don't have the vision, and certainly I haven't worked and grinded and been a part of the NFL as a scout and worked my way up to the general managerial position and going into year number 9. I haven't done any of that, and I will readily admit, completely honest with you. Play what he said about this being good again, James.
I think overcoming challenges and obstacles along the way are good for anybody. I do. I'm proud of Anthony, of where he's at, how far he's come. He's come miles. I mean, I want you to think back, and it's tough on any young quarterback in this league. But for him to keep taking the growth steps that he has and to work so hard and then not get the goal for himself, all right, now to continue to do that, that's when we got a chance to see real growth. And
this is year number 3. in week number 1 and year number 3, your guy that you selected 4th overall is not starting. That's not good. There is zero way, and I do understand this, when you have had largely a career that have not shown the results that anybody expected, nor you felt you should be delivering. Yet no matter the excuses or the reasons, there are valid reasons. But no matter the situation, if you haven't shown those results, this is the dialogue that you have to put forth here anyway. It is the, hey, we're going to keep on grinding. We're working really hard at it. Now, everybody else is winning, but we're working hard. We're working hard to even sniff the rear end of everybody else in the division that's already won it twice since the last time this organization has won it. We're working really hard. I understand that. And I understand that you get sick and tired of being evaluated and criticized by mostly people that have no idea what the hell they're talking about in your field. I say it all the time. I'm not going to be hypocritical about it. This is my job to do it. I'm just going to tell you how I see it. But I tell you the same thing about guys that dip their toes into the world of radio and try to tell me what to do. I don't need to hear your advice. I think I understand. I've got it. Certainly around here, I've got it. I get it. You can tell me operationally what you want me to do, but I don't really need to hear your advice on content. I understand that. And that does wear you down, and I'm sure he's worn down. But he only really has two answers here. You can defend to deflect because the results are obvious, and then you can talk up all it's going to take is some winning. And all it's going to take is some winning to justify a lot. Now, for me, I've had a different angle in this thing the entire time. If you remember going back to last season, the conclusion, I said, if Richardson is not the guy, why are we jacking with all this? Because honestly, you could do this experimental stage with Daniel Jones and cross your fingers and hope in week number 1 you win and maybe you'll find a lightning strike in a bottle. You can do that with really anybody. You can do that with anybody. And if it works, more power to them. If they have concocted personnel, especially offensively, will help him out better than what we had witnessed in 6 years with the Giants, with what he had there, really all but one in a playoff season, then so be it. And Chris Ballard is right. That's all it's going to take. But there's no way, shape, or form you're ever going to sell me on this being good. This is far from good. And I understand the challenge that you meet. I mean, it's almost like you're talking about the, hey, we decided to go with the guy that was an absolute long shot. He was viewed as this guy's got can't miss elite level talent, and all it's going to take is for us to mold him into that elite level quarterback. And that is misrepresenting. You know, this is not the guy that works really hard and explodes. This is not Clubber Lang working, in his basement really hard. All of a sudden he explodes on the scene and beats Balboa in Rocky III. I mean, this is something that everybody thought by now should have occurred. And not only has it not occurred to the higher level, it hasn't happened to the level in which, simply put, he's starting in week number 1 of year number 3. There is zero that you can lean on and trust. The trust and the lean right now for Colts fans is hoping you have a veteran quarterback that in a change of environment, a change of scenery is a lot better. I'm hoping right along with you because I'm sick and tired of covering this and talking about this. I want this group to deliver. We had way too much fun in this Pacer season for this Colts 25 campaign to be yet another lead balloon for you. And as we all know, it's a hell of a lot better always to be talking about a team that is performing well. And believe me, it's not going to take a lot to expand on the expectations of this team. It's not going to take you a lot to get excited about it. A little consistency, a little competency, the show of results. But however you utilize the dialogue, I'm sorry if I sit here and I go, yeah, this is not. This is really good that he's not starting, and you're number 3 and we number 1. Really good because he can't take any snaps because Daniel Jones is going to get them all in practice and preparation every week. There's zero good about that. Nothing. It's really good that you selected him 4th overall. There's zero good about it. I do understand the part, though. If you win, that is a cure-all. It may not last forever, but rarely anything does. And right now, Colts fans need a heavy dose of that. So a lot of people have asked me if I thought that Chris Ballard was a bit salty early on. I didn't really think so, and here's why. Because you guys know this, at the Combine a couple of years ago, I got the salty Chris Ballard. And we got to hang out for the better part of 20 minutes. And I don't even know if that's still available. But if you go back and watch that, you could tell that dude would have rather been at a combination platter root canal enema than sitting next to me and having me lob questions at him. And believe me, I understand. I do get it. I understand the challenge in it all. To go through this, to get to where you are, to not have the results, but then to have everybody else that have not gone through it come at you. But that's the nature of the game. That's the nature of the game in year 2 and year 3 with most. Sure as hell it's the nature of the game in year 8 and year 9. But I cannot be sold on this being good with Anthony Richardson. This is going to go down. This, to me, unless there is a significant change, and Chris Ballard is right. Hopefully that's the case. I don't know if I'm going to hold my breath on it. I don't know if any of us should hold. I don't know if I'd advise you to hold your breath on it. But if it turns out that all of a sudden the switch is flipped, then there's understanding there. No matter how you end up finding it, then so be it. But does anybody buy that? There are, to me, more valid reasons to ask, as Stephen Holder did. I think James was in there as well asking. But there are more valid reasons to believe that the time has come and gone for Richardson here than there are at all to believe that he can find his way, find a path, even at a young age, and transition into the type of quarterback that you were told to expect. And I'll always say this, that's the most disappointing aspect. And whether or not you've got a guy that just will never get it, none of that matters. You either do or you don't. These are exact words, exact terms. You either do or you don't. Most of this group, including Chris, has gotten a tremendous pass and a pathway for a variety of reasons to last a lot longer than anybody else ever would in this type of gig. I know it's tough, but they know what they're getting into. And I thought Chris even said it toward the end when he said, yeah, you know what? And this is like an ongoing question at the end about being on the hot seat. Does it matter to you? Are you on the hot seat? And he says, it would suck to have a real job. I don't know if I would altogether. There are a lot of people out there that have real jobs that probably take that the wrong way. I don't know if you should take it the wrong way. Actually, I don't think you should take it the wrong way. But, being a guy in the past that has, had a so-called real job, I don't know how people will end up taking that. But I get what he was saying there. I do. What he was saying is, you know what? I'm not doing this and looking over my shoulder and believing somebody's going to fire me. And he shouldn't. Look at the longevity here. I've said this before. most would have lost their job like 3 times by now with the lack of results. Even with everything that's had to be dealt with. So I thought earlier today, to explain myself further, is you got a hope on this that they can put together something with Daniel Jones. James, you Star Wars guy over there? Remember when Leia put that video in R2-D2, help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope? It's almost like, help me, Daniel Jones, you're our only hope. I don't know how I feel about that, but you're our only hope right now for this season. And I'll be damned, I'm not looking any further past this season than anybody else. We'll let the chips fall at the end of the year.
Well, if Daniel Jones in this metaphor is Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Yeah.
I think we're all screwed.
Yes. Yeah. He is. He may be Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then Luke Skywalker would end up being whatever quarterback comes in next year, right?
I thought you were about to say he was about to be Riley Leonard.
Yeah, no. Probably not. It's funny. I don't find anything that is as redeeming in a situation with the quarterback right now as Chris explained it earlier. And maybe you don't agree with me. And I'm not suggesting you shouldn't find excitement in Daniel Jones. Hopefully you do, and hopefully it pays dividends. But, having a young quarterback that doesn't get it, I mean, it's you guys are supposed to vet these dudes. If there are any question that they can't get it, or you think or you feel they're not going to get it, then maybe you should look a different direction. Oh, well, there was nobody else. Well, anybody else at this point may have been better. Virtually anybody else. And there's nothing good about this. And also, part of the problem is, if he's doing all this great stuff behind the scenes in preparation, and he's getting in and you can see the learning and you're feeling good about it. I didn't see, did you guys, a wide berth between the two quarterbacks in these preseason games? So how can that be true? I mean, you see all this coming along. I mean, what are we talking about here? It's almost like you're describing like me. Did you draft me? Wait a minute. He's not ready to do anything right now. Clearly. So into year number 3, the good things about this is he's learning and you can see him learn, but, he's not ready to start a damn game right now for nothing. Yeah, Daniel Jones is. He's 20 games under 500, 6 years in, and was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, but he has been described as a much better choice. I don't know why that's at all being considered as good. That was my takeaway today. And by the way, everybody that was out there and asking questions had every right to ask questions and to focus on this because, as we know in the NFL, for the most part, that position, if you don't have it right, that's all that's going to matter. Or in a lot of cases, if you don't have it nearly right, if you're not even in the general vicinity or the area code of having it right, you are screwed. We have seen that around here and seen that around here absolutely forever. That was Chris Ballard earlier today. I know Jake played that. And a lot of you have asked me if I thought that Chris was a little bit salty. I've seen Chris salty before, and nothing really jumped off the page with a level of saltiness right there that was out of the ordinary. Again, you go back to that video a couple of years, that's salty right there. Arms crossed and wanting to be anywhere else than sitting next to this jackass is what I thought he felt the entire time. I don't blame him. Yeah, I don't blame him. But that's the way that it is right now. If you deem this as good, let me know. If I'm wrong in that assessment, then let me know. But there is so much comfort in a gig that has gone on forever with the lack of results. It's almost like, remember we went through this entire thing last year of competition. That's why we had a quarterback competition this year. We went through all that. We got to have competition. too many guys were entitled. We're just kind of given their situations a year ago. Well, I mean, there's a trickle-down theory I think you could come up with that could be had there. Maybe that's the reason why. If it starts at the top, how much of a competition has been there? The late owner did step in a couple of years ago and say, I'm going to go ahead and bring this guy off the television set, and he's going to get the job. We all kind of know. Honestly, while was that the right move? No, it was a move. Now you're doing something, trying to think of something, anything, right? Trying to plug and play anything at that moment because of the level of disappointment. So we shall see. If Daniel Jones trips that light, fantastic, then so be it. But if the theme was that Anthony Richardson, your quarterback, is where he is right now and is good, I have to have further explanation. You know, if your quarterback's coach said last week that he's done all he can do, and clearly the head coach who was brought in, who was very excited about getting the opportunity to work with Anthony Richardson, has deferred and gone with somebody else outside the organization with his belief, knowing that his job, I mean, he may feel differently with his job on the line than Chris apparently does with his. Because Shane's not going to get any 9 years to figure this out. It's going to be 3. Just some thoughts about that meeting with the media a little bit earlier today. But again, I think the prevailing tone of this being salty, I understand where you guys are coming from, but I think if you've sat there individually like with it, as I have, it didn't really feel as salty. I've been around the saltiness before. That wasn't salty. I didn't think. Could be wrong. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Thoughts on that at 239-1070. 317-239-1070. That is our text line. Bowen at 4, Orlovsky at 4:30. Now, I'm going to share with people exactly. I want to have Kevin Nealon on this week, and I want to do a little bit of something with him. However, I don't know when that's going to be because I thought today was probably not going to be a really good chance for him to come on. So tomorrow or Friday, can we work with that? Kevin Nealon's going to be in town at Helium, right? Downtown?
Yep.
Yeah, they always on Labor Day weekend have and he's a really good dude, as you know, with so many years on SNL. Have we worked that out any further?
She is checking with him to see what his schedule will allow, and then she's going to get back to me.
Full disclosure, we initially thought he wanted to come on at 3:30 today, and I thought, I don't know if I want to go 15 minutes of this diatribe and then come right out with, hey, what about SNL? So we will wait on that, but hopefully at some point before the end of the week, before we get into your holiday weekend and the swan song of summer weekend. I love Kevin Nealon. Kevin Nealon was also a part of Happy Gilmore 2, was he not? Was he in that? I believe he was. Did you not see it? I'm leaning on you, younger generational folk.
I haven't even watched the original Happy Gilmore.
What?
I'm not an Adam Sandler guy.
What?
I like him as a dramatic actor, but I don't like him in comedies.
So, again, we will try to work him. Hopefully tomorrow or Friday we'll make that work. Tomorrow at Sid's, they're celebrating 80 years. We'll do that at Tavern Tour Stop with Brent Halverson. That is coming up on Friday at Mystic Waters, and that begins what is going to be an absolutely fan-stinkin-tastic weekend of you with us. I do have something else for you as far as the Labor Day weekend bender is concerned as well. It is a shoe drive that has a connection with our good friend Brent Halverson. I'll get to that coming up a little bit later on. But I have time for you at 239-1070 on the phones, at 317-239-1070 on the text line. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. You know, that opening diatribe there wasn't like it has been in the past with Chris Ballard. It was a little bit different. A lot of what he had said I thought was the same, but my opener was a little bit different. I think we'd call it unique and organic on this particular station in this market. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Don't go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Got your asses whipped by a bunch of damn nerds.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I care deeply about this organization and city, okay? The fans, the way they treat you, they're great. Now I got a few emails that were nasty, but I always wonder if that's from what basement is some dude writing that from. But saying that, I just don't roll that way. I never have. I never rolled that way where I worry about, what the future holds. I'm fortunate to work in the National Football League. I've always been grateful, and I will never take one day for granted, whatever the role. This is a unique place. I could have to go get a real job for a living. That would suck. That would really suck. So no pressure in that way. No.
That's Chris Ballard a little bit earlier today, and that's other stuff that I have received regarding the regular job. That is what is called a defense mechanism, because you know that in terms of your position and the real world, you have long outlasted your stay according to the results. I mean, and you got to understand, too, this is not going to be 3 hours of double barrel action versus Chris Ballard. I actually like him. He hates me. I would too. And as you well know, I hold grudges. And I don't know if he does or not, but I would not like people breaking what I do down like this every day. And I would probably have negative things to say about that if provided an opportunity over the course of an afternoon about what I had to say. So I do get it. I mean, I do. I understand why he wouldn't want to ever hear what I have to say or like what anybody else has to say. But just because we haven't worked in the NFL or grinded out on the scouting trail or anything like that, this is all fairly obvious. I mean, the situation is not anything earth-shattering. You just haven't shown results. And that's what you have to do in whatever job, whatever career you have. Or somebody's going to be coming for you. And to get this lengthy of a tenure with these results, even with the situations that have occurred, you're incredibly fortunate. I would always take it easy. I get what he's saying about, I don't want a real job, but man, that is going to bend people the wrong way. I wouldn't have gone there. JMV, Ballard's egotistical, thank God I don't have to have a real job attitude sucks. People are not down with that. And as soon as I heard it, I thought, man, I wouldn't have gone there. JMV, he is just a blank. And it's not even so much, it's one thing to be judged on your body of work, but you can't have that type of attitude with that lack of results. It can't be done. And that's where we are, awaiting those results. JMV, Ballard stinks. This dude has stunk the entire time. Any sense of hope us fans used to have. Always talks about winning, and he's proven that he can't build a winner. 10 years of losing, no franchise quarterback. This will be a great day in Colts history when this is the last time we have to hear that arrogance from Tanner. There's a lot of what I get right here. I can't listen to you anymore. Nothing other than firing Chris Ballard is good. Enough for you. Now, that's a counter. So I'm not going to get listened to anymore because I get it. Chris Ballard probably says the same thing. What do you want me to do? How do you want me to answer it? I've answered it the same for the last 8+ years now. the same. I can't come out here and say, well, you know what? It may not have occurred the first 8 years, but this is it right here. Or at least 6 out of the first 8 years, this is it. Can't listen to you anymore. Nothing other than a firing of Chris Ballard is good enough for you. I tell you what, I'd talk him up if there was some winning to be done, if there was reason to get behind it. But you tell me. JMV AR was ready to start the season 1, game 1. Now Ballard says he is not ready to start game 3. Well, they did own the fact that that was an error in judgment back in year number 1. JMV, Ballard said himself he doesn't care about the future. Yeah, a lot of response to this, and a lot of it is exactly what you would expect. JMV, he can say whatever he wants. His decisions, results, resume speak for themselves. Even for my basement, I can tell you he should be fired. Stephen writes this, if AR needs to develop more, why wouldn't he play in the last preseason game? AR has been mismanaged his professional career. FYI, I was never a believer in a one-year starter with a 50% completion rate. He was also only drafted because of his athleticism, not for playing the quarterback position. Skivvy says, Ballard always talks down to media fans and folks like everyone is stupid. Jared writes, Ballard seems like he's from the Belichick school of smugness. Only difference is Belichick has a set of brass knuckles +1 to back it up, and that's a part of it too. I mentioned this. You talk with that much bravado, and then you show that lack of results. That's the problem. If you show results, then people are going to go, well, you know, he's right about that, and you can basically say whatever you want, but this is where we are. The continued eye-rolling lip service and excuses from 8-year failure Ballard is just plain exhausting and pathetic. Why is this team and fans being subjected to this moving forward? But when you get angry about having to answer questions about Anthony Reed, I mean, again, I didn't think it was that over-the-top salty. Some did. But when you have to answer those, got to expect it. You know, especially in the length of time that we've talked about here. Yeah, at some point, too, it's almost like I deliver a message, but it's not like this is not a message that is seen. I'm not talking about literally on billboards, but what I end up talking about is just common knowledge. This is not me just trying to create something because, you know, you have a vendetta or an axe to grind. I'm just explaining to you the results or lack thereof. There's no groundbreaking experiment going on here or no stirring the pot up here. I'll tell you, the stirring the pot thing, for everybody out there that believes, well, you stir the pot because it gets you clicks or gets your, anymore it doesn't, because you've heard this same thing over and over and over. And I can't help but be redundant because that's the product that has been delivered. But this doesn't help us at all. Not at all. The one thing that would help us is the one thing that he referenced today, and as to the reason why they decided to go the direction they went with Daniel Jones. That's the one thing that could help everybody out of this. You know, otherwise, your apathy there leads to apathy here, and you end up going someplace else. Hell, we don't want that. Little winning would spark a fire, really, in a lot of places right here. Now, you saw what a little bit of winning. Now, this is high level. I'm not even asking for that high level of winning, but you saw the attitude of fans around here. I mean, hell, that thing jumped in a phone booth and came back out in a Superman costume in like 5 seconds this past year. You imagine if the Colts gave you something that you've been wanting to see for such a long time now? Crazy. But true. JMV, Colts fans are as fed up with Ballard and the same as the Steeler fans are fed up with Tomlin. Lots of talk, very little results. JMV, I still think about the time you and Hagan were in the press box and Ozzie Newsome got all bent out of shape. That was more so even, it was Eric DaCosta. Eric DaCosta. Oh, here it is right here. It was from Schefter. Ravens GM Eric DaCosta surprised 3 undrafted rookie free agents with the news they had made Baltimore's 53-man. He was waving a hot dog in Hagan's face back in the day here. That was pretty awesome. I have to admit that. All right, 239-1070. Joe is talking Richardson before the break here. Joe, join the show. How are you?
Hey, a couple things.
Yes.
First off, are you going to change the name of your studio to The Basement?
The Basement.
Because, yeah, because remember Ballard said that, somebody in a basement's making all this stuff up about him.
Yeah, that's just what.
Yeah.
When you get, I think when anybody gets anything, like, I don't know if you probably don't notice because you have better ways to spend your time, but when some weirdos were kind of coming at me last night for whatever reason, and that's everybody's all, well, you're coming from your bed. That's just kind of the common retort, I think, anymore for anybody that goes over the top in their dialogue towards somebody else. So I get it.
So the other thing is, Ballard, a couple things. Ballard says, I'd go out and get a real job, and he doesn't realize all these people with real jobs are working to make money to see that crappy product he's putting out on the field.
Yeah, you have to be so careful not to offend those that are already pissed because of your lack of results. Yeah, I would have probably chosen words better than that. Yes.
The main reason why I'm calling is that a lot of people are ragging on Daniel Jones, and I'm not saying he's a superstar at all, but I mean the Colts. So bottom line here is the Colts won 8 games last year, and they lost I think 4 or 5 by 1 score with a absolute horrific quarterback roster. I mean terrible, And if you look at the quarterbacks they've had over the years, I mean since Luck has left. Other than a Phillip Rivers who couldn't throw the ball more than 30 yards, Daniel Jones is at the top of the list on all those guys. And I think that if he can just protect the ball and not do the dumbass stuff that Wentz did, they've got to be good for 3 or 4 more wins.
And I think I'm not suggesting either, Joe, that you would be wrong in that assessment or that opinion. I think the problem is we have heard and then have gone through circumstances with other quarterbacks in the past, and we all know how that – and I think Daniel Jones kind of gets swept up in that, but it's also rightly so given the results he's had in 6 seasons in New York.
Well, now having said that, I mean, if you could talk to the people that know, because I don't know. But
yes.
I'm guessing that the Giants coaching staff is going to turn over within the next year or two. That's a bad organization that's making bad decisions with bad coaches. And I don't think it's all
well. And you could argue the same thing about this group here. Know what I mean? Listen. I agree what you're saying. I agree with what he's coming into now. That you have Jonathan Taylor, you got some up-and-coming wide receivers, you got an up-and-coming tight end. I mean, you could find
you got a division that's
if he could ever find traction. If he could find his traction, he should be able to find it with this schedule, and especially that opener with the secondary of Miami. And thank you, Joe, for the call. I appreciate it. You should be able to find that here. So, Joe, you're 100% right about that. But everybody else who downplays it, you go by the stats of the first 6 years, and then you go by the stats of the retread quarterbacks that have been around here. You put that all together, and that's the attitude the Colts fans, for the most part, have that may not agree, Joe, with yours. Quick break. Dan Orlovsky for a bit of a breakdown coming up at 4:30. Kevin Bowen, 4 o'clock hour. And more response to Chris Ballard meeting with the media a little bit earlier today on this Wednesday. Stay right there. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Fart in your general direction. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelled of elderberries.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Winning. I mean, we always do. We're accomplishing our goals. I mean, we all know. Like, I don't think I've ever shied away from the fact that we haven't been good enough. Like, I never shied away from that. And she doesn't either. She's just competitive. Both of them are. It's not just Carly, but so is Kaylin and so is Casey. They're competitive. I think that's the one thing about Jim that I really loved was, God, he was competitive, wanted to win. They got the same gene. So, I mean, success is winning. I mean, like, I think we all would agree with that. Like, success is not losing. It's winning. So that's what the goal is.
Chris Ballard earlier today talking really in terms of the owners taking over for the late Jim Irsay. So I got this too. JMV, it's absolutely blanking hilarious to me that in basically his introductory press conference says about luck that it's not just about the quarterback, and then to look where the organization is now, firmly entrenched in quarterback purgatory. Signed old veteran quarterback to try and win, draft young guy, and now retread to try and win again. Seems like it has always been about the quarterback, and they can't get it right. It is 100%. Any traction whatsoever, you're going to find some results, and especially it's magnified in that division. Any traction whatsoever, which leads us to this from Torrance. The bar is so low with these Colts. If Daniel Jones leads this team to a Week 1 victory, a banner is going to be raised in Lucas Oil Stadium, and that's not far-fetched. You've got to like the fact in Week 1 you have a Dolphins team that has certain outside threats and a quarterback when healthy that can be an issue. but can be had in a secondary. Week 2 is going to be tougher with the Broncos, but you do have the first 2 at home. So if you're able, and if this is the right call, I think you're going to find that out sooner rather than later. And you're 100% right about the bar being low. That will excite Colts fans regardless. Just getting a week 1 win. JMV, that person that sent you that message about you always wanting Ballard fired, has that person been around here for the tenure? Yeah, and here is the problem. You do get worn out. Like this, all this moving on, that's all you end up talking about because there's rarely anything good to talk about in terms of the football team. That's why the bar set so low, you create something on your own. I used the term organic a little bit earlier. You create something organic in week number 1. Get a good feeling for week number 2. Who knows? Because that would be the level of expectation. But I understand why you get tired of that particular opinion, because that opinion has been prevalent. That opinion has also been as reasonable of an opinion that has ever been expressed around here. Just because it's common doesn't make it irrational. There's nothing irrational about it. I think most out there are worn to the nub about a lot of things, including that right now. You got one more year to, we'll see what happens. People ask me, so what's the achievement to run this whole thing back again? Winning cures. Especially getting into the postseason again. That's where I would start. I know you may think it sounds crazy. I know you believe it needs to be more than that. I'm assuming, too, if you get into the postseason, you probably have to win this division or at least be up there to be able to do it all season long. That's what I would believe has to occur. JMV, if the Colts get a win in week 1, you could be the quarterback and people are going to get excited. There's no doubt about that. Any change at all. JMV, we know Chris Ballard has been here this long because Jim Irsay wanted him here. Carly Irsay-Gordon will have to make the decision on him staying or not after the season. That is from Mike, and that's what is going to happen. But people commonly ask you, so what is, again, the goal and what achievement happens to keep everybody around in this capacity? And I would have to think a postseason berth, which I think largely would equate to them winning the division, competing at a high level for the division. I would assume winning the division, considering what I believe the division to be like, but maybe it ends up being better than what I believe right now. Yeah, a couple of things off the Ballard presser a little bit earlier. A lot of it I thought was what you can expect. I didn't think it was overly as salty as everybody else did. And I would definitely stay away from citing regular jobs. Man, I love my job too. I would also tell you that anything like that, I wouldn't try to walk myself into anything that is non-football critical, if that makes sense to you. Like, you're already getting criticized 19 different directions right now. You don't need to be taking that on and being criticized about that. And I guess what I mean by it, when you've shown these lack of results, people are going to look for anything. And I understand it's the way that it goes. Quick one, we'll come back. Kevin Bowen, top of the hour, morning show. Dan Orlovsky, 30 minutes from now. Don't go anywhere. AAA Membership Lounge. YouTube Live, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
any dumber. You go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I don't know how to answer why should people believe. Like, I think you know the answer. They believe when you win. If you don't, they don't believe. Like, it wouldn't matter who was a quarterback. They wouldn't believe. If you didn't win, they're not going to believe. If you win, they give you a little more benefit of the doubt, and then y'all help put doubt to make sure there's questions being asked. That's the only way I know how to answer that one.
That's the only way to do it. You have to win. So I get this on the text line at 317-239-1070. I agree Ballard should have been gone 3 years ago, but can we move on to a new topic, please? We talked about Ballard during the entire offseason. For the love of God, let's talk about something else. Well, here's the issue. I talked more about the Pacers this offseason than I did even close to talking about the Colts. So that's not true. The only reason you get this reaction right now is because of the press conference a little bit earlier. And then this reaction will fade into the start of the regular season. And then the discussion, the dialogue is going to be based upon the results. It's not a difficult game to understand here. You probably could have thought, so Ballard's meeting with the media today, and then fully understand what to expect, because that's how the people feel. So I can flat guarantee you can go back show to show, and I know what you guys love, and right now you guys are in love with anybody giving you some winning. You loved what IU did. You love what the Boilers do in basketball. You love what the Pacers did. So I will go with winning. But on this particular day, when the general manager meets with the media, and this is the prevailing thought along with the high level of content, I don't know what else you would expect. Just a bit of advice right there for you on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Dan Orlovsky, by the way, joins us of ESPN at the bottom of the hour. Kevin Bowen is with us now. So I just saw you in the hallway. What the hell's happening here? Why are you on the phone?
Yeah, I have a question for you as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to grab Max Bowen here by 4:30. So I thought, okay, let's multitask. Let's drive and let's chat here with John. And I always enjoy these Wednesday combos. But my question was, what's the backpack doing in the hallway? Why not bring the backpack in studio?
I've got two of them. I don't know why I don't bring it in here. Isn't it weird? I have no idea. I put it in that chair out there and leave it every day.
Yeah,
that's weird.
I walked by it like an hour ago. I'm like,
there
it's
it
probably
is.
John's, He's probably just, putting it out there until Jake's done, and then he'll walk in studio. And then then you're out there digging for pens all of a sudden. I'm like, just keep that in studio.
I could just do it. Put it in there. I don't know why I do that. Maybe it's just kind of the break the monotony to walk out for a minute and then walk back in. You do that in the morning? Do you walk out of the studio?
Well, there are definitely times where I think I should probably need a break from those three that I'm in there with. So maybe I should probably entertain a little bit more of that. I'm not a big walker. I drink usually I'm about 2 cups of coffee and a good amount of water.
Yeah.
So I just got to pee a lot, honestly. So that's what I'm doing. I'm probably peeing, once an hour during the morning.
Man. How about you overnight? I'm like a water slide in my urinary tract now.
I know. I'm a little nervous. I brought this up on air, and I think it was all of a sudden we went from, me in the porta potty to talking about my prostate a lot. I feel like I'm a little bit more at night than a 35-year-old should be. So I'd say I'm easily a 1 and probably twice a night.
Yeah. No,
is that too much for my?
No, I take the over on me right there. I may do it at night more than the Colts end up winning games this season. Take the over on it.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I can't help it.
I'm a little bit more around like Purdue's probably win-loss over-under than I am around the Colts win-loss over-under.
Yeah, Kevin Bowen joins us from the morning show on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I do want to double back to the Ballard press conference earlier today, because it's kind of interesting, the dynamic. I didn't feel that he was any different or any more salty than he normally was. Now, again, I had him a couple of years ago at the Combine, and I don't know if he could have been more salty in the 20 minutes we were together there. Not so much anymore, but certainly at that point in time, that was a level of salty. I just I think that is a personality he is comfortable with. And I think much of the entitlement, he talked about some of these guys got a year ago that they were trying to work out of this organization and make guys work for it. I think that also, entitlement-wise, comes across in some of his dialogue to you guys. Agree?
Yeah, I could not agree more. I got asked by several people, like, oh, my gosh, he's so defensive, and he's so I'm like, is this your first Chris Ballard press conference watching, or certainly the first one in the last couple of years? To me, there's no difference. Honestly, John, I was a tad, I don't know if apathetic's the right word, but like I wasn't expecting a lot from the presser today. And there's been a lot of times with Ballard pressers that I have expected a lot, and I think oftentimes, again, you compare him to other GMs, I think largely you get a good amount of candor with it. It might not be exactly what you want to hear or maybe the tone you want to hear it, but you do get that from him. But generally, I thought today he would back Anthony Richardson like no other with his words, and he did that. And at some point, he would get frustrated with the quarterback questions. And, I went back and listened to it on my way back from the complex, and I want to say it was like minute 13 or 14 where, he did bring up the line of, hey, there are 51 other guys on the roster there. And, he did it in his usual Ballard way. But, outside of that, I didn't think – I think he usually is a little bit on edge in this press conference more than others because the season is about to start. And, all of that leads to, just, hey, it's bleep or get off the pod. And obviously his, resume would lend to that carry on a little bit more weight than others. But, yeah, I thought it was pretty normal Ballard, to be honest with you.
Do you think that he does get in his responses the entitlement that he has been given? Because let's face it, I mean, most guys with the results in that position, and all these guys know it, this is nothing new across the board of the NFL. He probably had come and gone 3 different times during his tenure here with these results or lack thereof. Is there a bit of entitlement there in being comfortable in a gig that he has been able to sustain as a part of without showing the results that normally would be necessary at that level?
Yeah, there is probably a little bit of that. I've always felt, year 1 throughout year 9 now, that he is, naturally an extremely comfortable human when we get into those sorts of settings. So I don't think anything has largely changed that. Again, maybe at times it's a little bit more on edge with questions, but I don't think, that has changed too much over the years. I just think, for the most part, he considers himself pretty smooth in those situations. It reminds me a little bit of Brian Kelly from a college football sense, where Shane Steichen, he's just trying to talk pretty much as fast as he can to get the press conference over with. That's kind of how I view those two in terms of media settings there. So, yeah, I just think that's largely how he's wired.
All right. Anything occurred to you today as far as the whole quarterback situation? I did at the outset bring this up. When he mentioned it's good in terms of, Anthony Richardson, working his way and doing this and, you're seeing progress. I'm sorry. I don't care how many different ways you dress this up. This guy not starting in week number 1 of year number 3 is about as far from good as you can get.
Yeah, I was curious, would he go back to, just kind of the Monday through Saturday off the field stuff? And he downplayed a lot of that and really wouldn't even go there at all, and at times last year. I guess I'd have to go back and read his comments, but obviously in season that was an issue in why he was benched there. And so they seem to have kind of largely swept that aspect under the rug. Again, there's so many aspects or questions to the Anthony Richardson thing, you almost forget about some of them at times, but they seem to be more onto the, no, he's got to, whatever, watch a pro in Daniel Jones's case. I'm using Ballard's words here, operate at the line of scrimmage and make checks and see how he goes about things in meeting rooms and all of that. And, again, to me, he has sat in meeting rooms 19 times now, Richardson, in his 2 years, and not played in that game, 17 of it due to injury, 2 due to benching. How many more games does he need? Another 17 on top of that? He needs 36 games of sitting and watching. I mean, I find me success stories around the league that had that much of it, and not to mention he had so little from a college resume standpoint. And, again, Alex, if you took a shot today, every time Alex Smith's name was mentioned, I mean, you'd be drunk until Saturday. But, when he brings up Alex Smith for the Richardson comp, did it take Alex Smith a while to kind of get on firm ground in the NFL? Yeah, I think that's very fair. The problem with the Richardson comp is we've never seen Anthony Richardson have a good stretch of football, and I would define stretch as 6 games. We've never seen that. We haven't seen it in the NFL, and we didn't see it at Florida in his 1 year of starting. Alex Smith was a Heisman Trophy finalist at Utah. He had one of the best seasons, really a quarterback's put up in quite some time, and now we're going back 20 years. And this is pre, a lot of these video game numbers that college quarterbacks can put up nowadays. He was number 1 overall pick. That is not what Richardson did at Florida. I mean, it was a very up and down, betting on the potential and the good of that, knowing full well you're going to tap into it, knowing full well the hope is that you tap into that. But again, like the Baker Mayfield comps that Ballard has made before, like the Sam Darnold comps before, Baker won the Heisman Trophy. Sam Darnold threw for, 4,000 yards in one of the best conferences in college football. We still have yet to see Richardson do it. And so I think that's where I struggle with it. But, there is also a part of me, John, and this kind of goes back to maybe to the start of the conversation and why I didn't walk into that press room today overly, I guess, eager to hear what Ballard had to say. When you have that resume going into year 9, what can you say?
Yeah.
Exactly. There was a quote he had at one point where he goes, and he's asked quite often about, hey, why should fans believe, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But he had a quote that I thought was the perfect quote. It was, well, they're going to believe if you win. And if you lose, then they're not going to believe in you. And I thought that was a very simplified way to say it. And yes, action speaks so much more than words. And I get it. At times you do want to hear words that are different. I just don't know what those words would have been. Maybe if he would have fallen on the sword and said, you know what, we screwed up Anthony from day one, and we should have brought him around slowly, and I should have signed veteran quarterback that had been in the league for 10 years, and he should have started, and Anthony should have watched. Maybe those would have been the words, but with this resume, it just feels like there's an element of we're just going through the motions.
Kev, here's what's weird to me. You just went through the dialogue of quarterback comparisons and bringing up Alex Smith, as he did today, or in the past, Baker Mayfield. And I'll be damned, most of the time, I don't know which quarterback here you're talking about, which makes it all that much worse. Seriously, I don't know if you're talking – are you talking about Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson? Which one are you talking about? That's how bad this is right now. We get it lost in the shuffle, which quarterback you're making a comp to that, is still trying to learn or may need a change in scenery.
Yeah, and, he brought up Alex Smith in both cases today. Yeah, he brought him up in terms of Daniel Jones for the short term, and then for the long term, he obviously brought him up for Anthony Richardson.
That's so weird, by the way. That is so weird.
Right.
Are there any examples in the past of other teams? I'm sure there is somewhere having to deal with similar things. I know that is just kind of the purgatory that you exist as a part of when you have a quarterback situation so many years like this. But, man, this seems like that this is something that hasn't happened very often, that we're once again seeing this team go through.
No, and I would just say largely for Ballard's sake and that resume, with Miami being the week 1 team, I try to, if I can, watch whatever, the opposing head coach, opposing players, see if they say anything of note in the week lead up to it. And I did see Miami's GM Chris Greer was talking today after cuts, just like Ballard. And Greer has actually been at the job for 1 year longer than Ballard. His resume is really similar. 3 playoff appearances, I believe it is, in his 9 years, and no playoff wins, I don't think any division titles either. So, listening to the tone there, it was very reminiscent of what we saw with Ballard of, again, when you have this type of resume so far. Now, the difference between Greer and Ballard right now is, quarterback-wise, Tua has proven he can play. It's just stay healthy, whereas obviously the case here in Indy is you don't know if your quarterback can play or stay healthy. So that is different. And Miami's made the playoffs 2 out of the last 3 years. That's a little bit different from recent momentum than where the Colts are at right now. So I did find that interesting. I guess you could label the Week 1 game as, 2 organizations that have accepted mediocrity from their GM.
Well, you and I both are on the same page with the bar is set so low, and there is such a Week 1 opportunity to take advantage of that. If you're Daniel Jones, if you're this offense, and really from top to bottom in Week 1, Kev, if you're this Colts team, this is a golden opportunity that you can't jack up, to me, in Week 1.
Yeah, sitting right there for you. Obviously, Miami has had, similar questions. Mike McDaniel's probably on a similar hot seat. Yeah, the secondary injury, they claim Juju Brents today. So they, are taking, I guess, your cast off, if you want to label it as that, and thinking that, he could maybe play and play a lot in Week 1, whereas the Colts are doing the reverse of it. They're taking Xavier Howard, and he's going to, play
the battle of the debriefings right here. Who's going to debrief the player better? Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. And, even like a little thing of, their very established kicker, Jason Sanders, got hurt a few weeks ago, and he's going to be out for that game. They're doing the old kicker tour here. So, yeah, it's I'm not trying to steal your thunder by any means, but if you were going to rank the most important games of the entire schedule.
You're going to get me excited on this Labor Day weekend starter right here. Let's say it. Let's hear it, buddy. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Outside of the 2 Houston games, which those happen to be late in the year, and who the hell knows what'll be the case post Thanksgiving, there aren't 2 bigger games in Miami and Denver out of the gate, and it's just, and part of it is because who they are in the sense of, okay, if you peg the Colts as a middling team in the AFC this year, well, Denver and Miami are probably 2 teams that are going to be in the mix of that as well. So, and this gets back to the words of Ballard today and I don't know if I should admit this, but I found myself during the press conference there's just only so much he can say. Unless the wins start to happen, there's 8 years and now going to be a 9th year of evidence to go off of. And at that point, you can only talk your way out of so much of it if that's kind of the game that you were looking for today.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like you're in a spot right now where you go, whatever happens at this point happens, and you're just really fortunate to have lasted to a point where very few, if any, have gone with the lack of results. Kevin Bowen of the Morning Show joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. What happened to Mike Weiner in that situation? Do you know? Did Rick Carlisle call you up and tell you?
No, he did not. I was surprised by that.
The wording of it was weird. Did you know the wording have mutually parted ways?
Yeah, and I would say it was one of the more thorough and complimentary press releases I've ever seen about the phrase mutually parting ways. That is a phrase that people use a lot to describe breakups in professional sports, and oftentimes it's met with not necessarily a good thing. Or maybe not a general agreement. We're going to say a mutual parting of ways, but we don't really mean that deep down. And I thought Rick's quote was very long and super complimentary of that. And then I don't know if you saw, but Steven Simon tweeted, he called Mike Weiner like a rock star on Twitter. How many times does the owner say that about a departing coach? So I mean this in all sincerity. I don't. A month before training camp starting, I hope everything's okay with Mike Weiner and his family and all that, because that happened on Friday. Here we are on Wednesday, and it's not like, oh, yeah, by the way, Mike Weiner's taking a job with insert team here. Sometimes you do see that. So, yeah, I hope everything is good. I think, and this is not me with Rick, but I think, even some people internally on that staff were very much caught off guard by it and haven't gotten a ton of clarity with that either. So, yeah, I hope everything's good with Mike and his family, and because he certainly was a close colleague of Rick Carlisle's and someone that he clearly trusted, and I think that staff in general had an immense amount of respect for him.
Yeah, and I just I am a fan of continuity, and with that group especially. And obviously they're going to be missing some pieces this year, and you thought that, and Jim Boylan's fine moving up to the front. We know that to be true, but it's kind of weird. The timing, I believe that was on a late Friday, was it not too? Which it makes it a little more odd.
Yeah, which again, if you fall into the old professional sports press releases, a lot of people call that the old Friday news dump, but like nothing about the press release read news dump. I mean, it was beyond complimentary of him. And so, yeah, that's where it just didn't add up. And to your point, the continuity, assuming they all were going to be back, I mean, you don't oftentimes find teams with a positive trajectory, league-wide praise like the Pacers have earned, and you still are having Jenny Busick, Lloyd Pierce, and Mike Weiner all together. Like, you don't see that in pro sports. Other people, nab those coaches. And Weiner, I think it was reported, he turned down a gig with Mike Brown with the Knicks, just a couple weeks prior to all of this. So, yeah, I wish I had more for you.
So, did you work out Mike Hilton today? And are you working out Anthony Walker Jr., the former Colts linebacker, tomorrow? Is that what I hear? Over on West 56, are you over there doing it?
I will certainly. I don't believe I'm going to be the one doing any sort of working out, but yes, it does sound like they're going to be working out. I think quite a few defenders, if I interpreted Chris Ballard correctly. They did claim a linebacker today from the Jags, so now they have 5 on their roster. But yeah, Anthony Walker, that would be another former Colts draft pick brought back. So
yeah.
We'll see how that plays out if it does. I am curious about linebacker. Is it definitely going to be Joe Bocci next to Zaire Franklin? And how much will they rotate there in week 1? I think that's a position group I got a lot of questions about.
Yeah, there is true, too. Hey, by the way, I don't know if you saw this or not. CBS Sports had Fernando Mendoza, their quarterback, projected as number 1 overall in 2026 NFL draft. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I mean, wow. I think I'd heard IU paid nearly $3 million for him.
Yeah.
So, I know there was a lot of hype, but I didn't realize, like, to that degree.
Yeah, that's big time right there.
Like, I saw someone drop the Mahomes, and I'm like, oh, my God. Dear Lord.
Yeah, we were talking about the other day. You got Nussmeier, Drew Aller, Penn State. What's the Sellers dude from South Carolina is another one too. So obviously everybody always goes with Manning, but there's no truth to the rumor that he's going to come out next year. So I just found it interesting that his name was the top of that particular list with that group of quarterbacks right there. We'll see how that plays out. Kev, what you guys got coming up tomorrow morning, brother?
We'll certainly recap a lot of this Ballard combo. We've kind of done our college football tours around the state, which I know you have as well in recent weeks. So we did a little Notre Dame today, IU Tuesday. We'll get a little Purdue action coming up tomorrow.
All right. How about Indianapolis and Marion? Shout out to those 2 football programs meeting tomorrow. That's awesome, by the way.
Yeah, and that's at Marion, right?
It is, yes. Scott McCauley, the voice of Marion, who's a good dude, by the way. That is awesome. I love they're doing that. That's great.
My best friends used to play basketball at IUPUI, and I used to listen to Scott McCauley a whole lot. He always enjoyed his calls there. So, yeah, I think it's a fun one there and should have excellent weather for the old Southsiders versus the near Westsiders.
We have a former Marion quarterback that plays basketball with us on Sunday mornings.
Really?
Yeah, Adam Weezy. Adam Weezy is his name. Weezy.
Now, I don't know how much you wanted to share on this, but I heard maybe the guy that's in studio with me from 7 to 10 got a little chirpy on the floor.
He got chirpy. He did. He got a little salty and talked a little junk. He did.
Okay. Like, he earned the right to talk that junk? Were you good with it? Watching from afar?
I didn't. I think he was a little bit more serious than what the other side was. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because I think he was. I think he was taking it. He was escalating it to where the other guy just thought it was kind of funny. Nobody got mad or anything, but he was getting chirpy. He was.
Okay. All right. Well, he definitely talks in the studio, so I'm glad to hear it. He was doing a little bit on the court as well.
He is showing up, which is really good. And he's saying he's showing up, and then he actually shows up, which is really good. So, yeah. Awesome. All right, brother. Appreciate you. We'll be listening tomorrow morning.
You bet, John. Have a great
Kevin
week.
Bowen right there, along with Jeff Rickard and James Boyd. Morning show, 7 until 10 a.m. That's Kevin Bowen on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Dan Orlovsky of ESPN, the former NFL quarterback. He joins us next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
move over, Swanson. I'm driving.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Sid's Noblesville tomorrow. 80 years of greatness. We celebrate with a tavern tour in Heaven Hill Distillery. Me, Brent Halverson. Kevin Nealon may join us tomorrow. Is that what we're there? Good. Hell yeah. That will start the third annual Labor Day weekend bender. Again, tomorrow, Sid's on the Square in Noblesville. Cannot wait to see you there. We're also celebrating an anniversary of one of the greatest albums of all time, Pearl Jam 10, on this date back in 1991. James? Jam 10 on this date back in 1991. James? Pearl Jam 10, this date, 1991. Chris Ballard with the media a little bit earlier. We've been talking about that, but more on the Colts and the NFL right now from ESPN on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. The former quarterback, you know him well, Dan Orlovsky, is with us. Hey, Dan, thank you very much for the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to be with you, bud.
I want to start with Daniel Jones. How do you feel this is going to work out? Because I have kind of put this up as week number one. The bar is low. Miami is a team here that can be had. You can get off, I think, to a good start. What do you think about the combination with quarterback, offense, head coach, and the like with this situation here in Indy going into this year?
Yeah, in regards to Daniel, I mean, expectations aren't incredibly high. You know, it's not a knock on Daniel. It's just, you know, there's not a ton of high-end potential and/or excitement. It's one of the reasons, if you go back to when he was the sixth pick of the draft, you're like, wait, what? So that being said, there's a ton of talent on the perimeter specifically for Indy, and that's always going to be a huge impact. You know, I'd say this. You know, I know Miami has gone through some turmoil and some change this offseason and whatnot and has lost some players. But that defense really started to play well down at the back half of the stretch last year. They're not completely healthy if you look at the potential of names, but they'll challenge Indy offensively for sure. It's a group that's really good on the back end as far as talent. Anthony Weaver, their defensive coordinator's very bright, comes from Baltimore, so wants to try and stop the run with lesser people down near the football. So they will, if they're capable of doing that, they will challenge Daniel and the perimeter guys versus sticky coverage.
How do you compare what the Colts have as a supporting offensive cast for Daniel Jones to start the season compared to that of what he had while with the Giants?
Oh, significantly greater. You know, from top to bottom, I would tell you offensive line-wise is probably the biggest difference. You know, the offensive line in Indy is a much better unit than what he had in New York. And then, you know, he's never had the depth of people that he has in Indy right now. You know, I think that's the thing that I've talked about a lot this offseason, and specific to the quarterback spot is, you know, maybe Indy doesn't have that one name that is that high-end top 10 player at the position, but there's 4 or 5 pretty darn good perimeter players, and they all have, you know, pretty specific roles and pretty unique skill sets that, you know, I think you can do a lot of things with. So it's a much, much higher-end group than, you know, he's ever had.
Dan Orlovsky of ESPN, former NFL quarterback. You, again, know him well. He's kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Surprised? Disappointed? What's the feeling about going into year 3 with Anthony Richardson here and he being the backup quarterback in week 1?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You know, the one thing that came evident, and I had said this, was like it was the most difficult quarterback situation and decision in the league, you know, that Shane Steichen and group had to make, because I understand it in ways, because it's not my job on the line. They have to all win and play well. And so you're sitting there going, well, who gives us the best chance to at least have a chance, you know, and is not going to beat ourselves that often. And so you lean Daniel, and I just go back to those perimeter players, and I can understand them sitting around in a room going, okay, you know, we've got A.D. Mitchell and Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman Jr. and Tyler Warren and Josh Downs and Jonathan Taylor. Like, we just need a guy to facilitate, and Daniel's more equipped to do that. And so you sit there and go, I understand it. And then a part of me goes, I get frustrated and disappointed, and I don't understand it, because what is it going to bring you? If Daniel peaks, it's going to get you to 9-8, 10-7, and you're still like, okay, cool. You know, and again, my job's on the line, so it's easier for me to say that. Disappointed that Anthony didn't take advantage of the opportunity coming off of the benching of last year, and the declaration, when you sign Daniel, you're making a very clear message or sending one like, hey, dude, it's time to put up. And, with some of the injury and, missed practice time in the spring, and then obviously the training camp shot with the pinky, it's just disappointing. Obviously, I'm someone who believed in his talent, and I still believe in the talent, but, he's in that very tough spot where, he has to play. He's just so far behind in his football life and reps. I said this on NFL Live when it happened. It was Bo Nix got 5,000 reps in college and the NFL combined. Anthony's at like 1,700. So he's just missing 3-4 seasons of repetitions, and he's obviously not going to get on the bench. And it's fair to question, like, is he ever going to get up to speed?
Dan, are you of the opinion now that if he ever does evolve into the type of quarterback that you thought he could be, others thought he could be, that it's going to be someplace else other than Indy?
Yeah, naturally my thought goes yes, but I mean, you've covered this league a long time, I'm sure, and things happen in this league, and you have no idea what Daniel's going to do this year. And Daniel could go out and play well. Daniel can go out and struggle. Daniel could go out and get hurt. He's got injury history attached to himself, and so I hope that the opportunity presents itself somewhere for Anthony, and then he's got to take full advantage of being on the field and staying on the field and playing his best. But unless Daniel, suffers an injury or really struggles, I would assume that it's elsewhere, yes.
I don't know how, because you just explained the dynamic here. He needs the reps, he needs the time, but you're not going to get it as the backup quarterback because Jones is going to get all those reps in practice, so you're really not going to see anything. And basically what you're counting on is doing something that you've done a lot of in the first 2 years that clearly hasn't helped you, ascend to the job of being the starting quarterback in week number 1 and year number 3. So what good does all this do, I guess, is what I'm getting to.
Not much, not much. It's I guess one of the things that makes it most disappointing is when he has had the opportunity to play and get on the field and stay healthy, there's been glimpses of like, and it just, he hasn't put it together. And so the premise is like, okay, what are we doing? And that's why my initial thought is like, full of doubt when it comes to, is it over in Indy? But Daniel can go out in week 1 and at that position you just never know. And so again, unless something happens to him, it feels unlikely, but the opportunity can always present itself, and then it's a moot point. But he's not going to get better being the number 2 quarterback. No, he will not to the point where he fulfills his potential.
I know you got to run quickly here, Dan, but one final thing. I've kind of held both ends accountable here. I'm as disappointed with the lack of evolution with coaching him up as I am with Anthony Richardson trying to learn it and then put it to good use on the field. Where are you with that combination? Is it more about coaching or lack thereof, or about the player himself as to why he's not reached what we thought could be his potential?
No, I mean, it's always both, right? Obviously, coming off of some of the reports of last year, he's got to carry a big burden when it comes to his development or lack thereof. It's also this. Everybody knew, one, he was incredibly young when he came out of Florida. Youth leads to immaturity. Youth leads to not knowing. And so I don't know if it was the best, now that I look back on it, consumed by the X's and O's combination that him and Shane were going to have together. But, was the 3 or 4 year plan really the best for him when it comes to, he's going to play all the snaps. Obviously, the injuries were part of it, but he's going to play. We're not going to worry about winning. We're only worried about getting him, to all the snaps and experience he needs, and then, putting the right people around him as far as mentorship and leadership and veteran elements. So, it's a very young offense, specifically on the perimeter. So I'm not trying to make excuses for Anthony. He's got his hand in it, but it certainly is everybody's included in it. Absolutely.
It's Dan Orlovsky, ESPN, does NFL, a lot of college football and general conversation on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I know you have to run. I appreciate you hopping on here today, and we'll gather your thoughts again once the regular season's underway.
Andy, good to be with you, bud. Be well.
Appreciate that. Dan Orlovsky, did you notice what he just said right there at the end? I love that. So I'll let you in on something. When I say the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, sometimes the guests believe that's me.
It's not the first time
and
it's
happened. And I am not Andy Moore. I wouldn't mind to be Andy Moore, let me tell you. And I'm proud that Andy Moore is a part of it. That's yet another reason why Andy Moore should love being a part of that hotline, because oftentimes the guests believe that that's him.
In Dan's defense, he only called you it once. I can't remember who it was, but not that long ago, somebody kept calling you it the entire interview.
It was. Well, there's one that I did, and I actually taped it, and I had to cut a bunch of them out. I just said, all right. But I'm altogether... I'm not really disappointed by it, because what it does show anybody out there that wants to be a part of the show, think about how many mentions you're going to end up getting. Dan Orlovsky thinking that Andy Moore is me, which, listen, if Andy Moore wants to trade positions right now, somebody get a hold of Andy and tell him we'll trade positions.
That's some great
for
advertising
a day, for
right
a week.
There.
Yes, that's why they love that. I think this thing's they've been a sponsor of the hotline for the better part of 10 plus years. And there's a reason behind it, because they get mentioned all the time. That has not happened. That has not happened live in a while, but I love it. The Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. And again, if anybody's around Andy Moore and if it does want to trade places here for a day or a week or whatever, then I am quite okay with that. It's Dan Orlovsky on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Gotta love it. Chris Ballard with the media a little bit earlier today. We talked about that. A lot of what he had to say. Kevin Bowen, the morning show, talked about that a little bit earlier. Podcast with each at 1075thefan.com. All right, let me take a break and come back. I don't think we have anything the rest of the way, right? So here's what we're going to do. We've got a lot of content via the text line at 317-239-1070. I will read those and respond accordingly. I will also take your calls at 239-1070. We'll start with Cody coming up on the other side regarding what Ballard had to say. And I'm also curious this point. Much like the lack of results we've seen with the Colts and the apathy that I have mentioned, did you feel the same way about the presser? Did you feel that Chris was more defensive or a little bit more salty than usual? I didn't. Did you? And is there a belief? Is there a belief in Daniel Jones, or is it a similar belief in quarterbacks around here that you've been told to have a belief as a part of, and then it did not work? So, yeah, there's a lot to get to right here. 239-1070, your calls on the other side, too. And tomorrow marks the start of our third annual Labor Day weekend bender. Heaven Hill Distillery and our tavern tour finds us at the legendary Sid's on the Square in Noblesville. They're celebrating 80 years. And we're going to be a part of that at Sid's in Noblesville with Brian and the gang coming up tomorrow beginning at 3 o'clock. And you are all welcome to join. I cannot wait to see you. And that will start what is going to be a fantastic weekend. Mystic Waters Campground with us Friday. And a shout out to Taylor's Pub that's supplying the food on Friday. And also with us on Saturday for the JMV takeover on B105.7. And around 11:30, I believe, that our good friend Richard and Jeff and Ford's Garage will be making a food delivery for us long before the JMV takeover starts. Ford's Garage, for those of you that are going to be hanging out with us, will have a food delivery then and there. It is going to be a spectacular weekend for us all. Hopefully you're camping out with us, too. I've got a cabin. And we are ready to rock this weekend, and officially it starts tomorrow at Sid's in Noblesville with the Heaven Hill Distillery Tavern Tour stop. All right, 239-1070, beginning with Cody, your calls on the other side, fully engaged with you in the 5 o'clock hour, and a busy show coming up tomorrow and on Friday as well. I shall explain. Also, we've got a shoe drive that I know Brent Halverson would like for me to mention. I'll do that coming up next as well. 239-1070, the stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
He's a good kid. Like, I don't worry about. I think with any young person, like any young player on our team, when they come in the building, you would hope that they're ready-made, ready to go, professionals in every aspect of both in the building and out of the building. But like I said earlier, young men take time to grow. They just do. They have to learn and grow. And I think he's done a really good job managing all the expectations, not only externally, but internally. And I think he's growing in that area.
Chris Ballard, a little bit earlier today, we've got the 5 o'clock hour to discuss at 239-1070. Also, the text stream at 317-239-1070 from Noblesville. This is Zach, actually down on the south side. One thing no one has talked about with Richardson is the playbook. You hear Shane talk about the classroom, the consistency. I don't think he knows the playbook. I think this is why, or at least one of the reasons why, Daniel Jones won the battle. Maybe some understanding or lack thereof in there as well. Cody's at 239-1070 before the top of the hour. Cody, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for taking my call, John.
You got it, Cody. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know if people remember what Chris Ballard said when he drafted Anthony Richardson. He said, I didn't want that guy to go somewhere else and be a star in the league. And that, I think, is just drafting scared.
Yeah.
It's always going to hurt the organization in the long term when you're doing stuff like that. And Kevin touched on it this morning. That's why Chris Ballard's only hit 50% of his draft picks since he's been here. He's drafting scared. Whatever happens this year, I really hope we keep Steichen. I really think he's a great offensive mind. And if you look back at the quarterbacks that he's dealt with, Jalen Hurts, Herbert, those guys were in college 3 or 4 years. They had so many more snaps under their belt, and so I just think his draft process is broken. So I really hope that we move on for Ballard and keep Steichen, but who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think most will get swept up. If this is, and thank you, Cody, for the call, man. I appreciate that. If this is another one of those seasons that we've become accustomed to, especially without a postseason appearance, and is mediocre to less than disappointing, then everybody's going to get swept up in this. They have an opportunity to sidestep it, and Chris Ballard has an opportunity with this group to sidestep it once again. But this should be, to me, pretty cut and dry. We'll explain coming up on the other side how you can help with a shoe drive with Brent Holverson and I coming up later on this weekend, why you need to join us beginning tomorrow in Noblesville at Sid's, and a lot more regarding Chris Ballard and his presser a little bit earlier today. Some NFL conversation and some of those questions, I'll re-ask those for you in the 5 o'clock hour because we're going to be doing a lot of Ewan and Meehan after 5 at 239-1070. Give us a call. Hit us on the text line. That and more, 5 o'clock hour on this Wednesday. Straight ahead next.
Ride with JMV.
And the beat goes on, yeah. And the beat goes on.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Like, I'm not going to 2022. I'm going to what we've seen since he's been here. Look, his ability to run the offense, to get him out of good and bad plays, to know the checks, just the things that most veteran quarterbacks can do, and to make sure that we're continually moving the chains. That consistency is a good thing. And look, he has some explosive ability in him too, and I think we saw that in the preseason.
Chris Ballard earlier today. We can have a full hour of response to that if you want. Or, hey, just sit back, relax, and listen to what the hell I have to say about it, because I've already laid it out there for you. I can do it some more here in the 5 o'clock hour. The text line is at 317-239-1070. JMV, the Ballard era has been like watching the Curse of Oak Island. What the hell is that? They just talk and never find anything much and waste a bunch of money. That's Brian from Wisconsin. Brian, thank you very much. Where are you in Wisconsin, by the way, Brian? The Curse of Oak Island. James, do we know what that is?
I have never heard of that before. Kind of sounds like a bad horror movie.
Should John look it up here? Sound like Jimmy from Seinfeld. The Curse of Oak Island.
That's a lot more recent than I was thinking.
Yeah. The Curse of Oak Island is a multi-season reality television series that chronicles a team of treasure hunters run by brothers Marty and Rick Lagina. Easy for me to say. And it's search for legendary treasure on Oak Island. Where's Oak Island? Why have I never heard of this?
Off the shore of Nova Scotia.
What possibly are they looking for? Notable finds on Oak Island, James. A Spanish copper coin believed to have been dated back to the 17th century.
Oh, wow.
A fake Roman sword that somebody threw overboard that they bought at G.C. Murphy's back in 1970. No, I'm just joking. That's not it. A fake Roman sword. Or if you're from southern Indiana, sword. A supposed 12th century manuscript. A small piece of material that may have been a piece of an old book. A related bookbinder and a piece of sheepskin parchment with markings that looked like medieval text on it.
Well, apparently they're looking for Captain Kidd's treasure. There's apparently a lot of rumors that that is lost somewhere on the island.
A claimed Roman-era shipwreck just off Oak Island. Unauthenticated as of 2016. Why am I just now hearing about this?
Sounds like you got a new,
sounds like a bunch of crap. It kind of sounds like, what was that show where the guy would go fishing for river monsters or whatever?
I think it was just called River Monsters.
Yeah, and then it would just end up being like some big catfish.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, there's no monster, and you're in a river, but you just end up catching... Hey, there's a big catfish. Okay, great.
Now, some of those I will, because I've seen some of those episodes. Some of the ones like in the Amazon or in kind of those type of locales, there were some pretty gnarly fish.
Well, I mean, okay, piranha.
Well, yeah, but there's, I can't remember the name of it. It looks like a combination of an alligator and just a fish.
Gar?
Yeah, gar, exactly.
Oh, that's in the White River over here.
Is it really?
I think you got... Somebody tell me, I don't know why anybody would fish in the White River around, but anyway, if you do, I believe the alligator gar, that's what those are. Alligator gar are in the White River.
Whatever the one he pulled out was pretty big. I don't know if we got those ones swimming around here.
I believe, and I don't know if this is legal or not, so I'm not going to tell you who does it down in GC, but they go down in the White River, which clearly is incredibly clean. And they get an arrow and a bow and tie a rope to it and try to find they spotlight the alligator gar.
I think I actually
because I believe they're intrusive species, aren't they? Alligator gar.
You're asking the wrong guy. I think though I did see somebody bow fishing from a bridge here the other day.
That's good. You guys had no idea I was this up to date on alligator gar. By God, I am.
I'm impressed.
Now, somebody may tell me that I'm inaccurate on that. JMV, isn't the indictment on Ballard simply that he has no successors to refer to in his pressers? There is nothing to lean on. When you have that type of attitude and you can't go, well, you remember what we did? When you can do basically whatever you want if you win. But people are not going to take that attitude when you consistently are saying the same thing. And the results are as we've witnessed. JMV, it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to suck. Luke and Speedway. JMV, why did Steichen come with such rave reviews? I wish Indy didn't shut down the whole Saturday coaching situation. We would have really sucked, but guarantee AR wouldn't play the first year. Andy and Pendleton. That's why I mentioned somebody had asked, well, I like Steichen. I think it was our last caller, Cody. I like Steichen, but, Ballard did this and make changes. Everybody's going to get swept up in that if they don't make the postseason. Simply put. JMV, Curse of Oak Island looking for supposed Templar treasure said to be hidden there. Have had promising finds and leads over the years. Interesting show. Well, thank you very much for that update right there. Nothing on Alligator, Gar? I mean, hell. Just laid it all out for you. Those of you that fish or bow fish, if legal, in the White River. I think everything's legal in GC. Just do whatever the hell you want. 239-1070. Michael with Colts Conversation right now to start the 5 o'clock hour. Hello, Michael.
Hey, JMV. Thanks for having me.
You got it, Michael. Go ahead.
Hey, one question and one comment. And
yes.
I know you hate the term draft capital.
Yes.
But, I mean, I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy. I mean, to quote the great Benny Green, R.I.P., he is who we think he is.
Yes.
That's 6 years of, right? So my question in terms of the draft, is there a point this season where it's a fire sale, where you try to get what you can for guys like JT, Defoe, Zaire Franklin, Michael Pittman, and just see how many drafts you can get to see, to start rebuilding for the future, right?
I don't think that there is going to be that point in time during the season. Now, further evaluation for those that deserve better on this team, then after the season, if you do reboot this thing, yes, then I'm sure that evaluation process happens. But I do not foresee that coming at any point in time this season.
Yeah, and then my comment would be on that fire sale note, I think the Colts, I'm kind of half joking here, but also half serious, is they need to do what Bill Walsh did when he got the San Francisco job. And if you remember, the legend is he walked in and he fired everyone in the building. The Colts have accepted mediocrity for the last 10, 12 years under this regime, and by regime I mean Ballard, and there's a stink in the building that they've accepted mediocrity, and heads need to roll, and everyone's got to go. And I think we need to do what Bill Walsh did and just fire the cooks, fire the janitors, fire the ball boys, fire everyone, and completely clean house. I'm half joking, but half serious.
No, I think that's exactly what occurs, and thank you very much, Michael, for the call. I think that's exactly what occurs if they don't hit marks with, I'm going to say Carly and Company, which sounds like Query and Company. But if they don't hit marks this season, reach certain goals, I think most will get swept up. And again, you're going to say, well, that's unfair of you to say. Well, Lou Anarumo's been here for 5 seconds. Yes, it's the nature of the game. They know what they're getting into. Fair or unfair. JMV, sturgeon are in the White River. They are ancient and massive. The East Fork of the White River, southern Indiana, has state record-sized catfish. They're monsters. You can't be showing the same damn episode with this gray-haired guy basically noodling in some river in Africa and sell me on river monsters. There's no monster. A big damn catfish. Come on. JMV is accurate about Alligator, Gar. Thank you. JMV, I think that show is horrible and a waste of time. Which one? That one or mine? JMV, the Ursay Laters are going to clean house after this season and build their own team ground up. This can be salvaged, if you will, with a postseason venture from this team. I think everything else, then you're going to be starting new. Most people probably would agree with that particular assessment. JMV, random observation that might be worthy of discussion on the show. Do the Colts have any good players from the SEC? Obviously tried with AR, but they seemingly have no good players from the best conference in football. I don't even think this is about not having good players. I think they have good players. I don't give a damn what conference they're from. I think they have good players. The problem is that you're constantly on the churn with the quarterback situation that has not been good. That's why you cross your fingers and hope that Daniel Jones, and I know that you did not receive the ringing endorsement from Dan Orlovsky last hour that you felt you might end up getting. Anybody else notice how ho-hum he was to the host of the show, Andy Moore? I think what you got from Dan Orlovsky was more of a disappointment as to why Anthony Richardson has not been deemed good enough to start in year 3 in week 1. And he also described it as, you have to make a choice right here to try to save your gig and get some wins. And what you believe your choice to be, the better choice is going with Daniel Jones. JMV, because we burn coal in Indiana, all fish come with a mercury poisoning warning. I love fishing, but don't fish here ever. I didn't know that. When's the last time that I think the last time, and I'm not proud of this, by the way, I think the last time I went fishing, and crab fishing's different, right?
Yeah.
All right. So have you ever tried to fish for crab where you put like a chicken
You put like something in the crab pot and they come in.
And they come up like that, hold it onto it. So that's different. I have done that. Not recently, but I have done that. I think the last time I went fishing in a body of water in the state of Indiana, maybe about the same time the last time I went to church was 1979.
I mean, I can't judge. It's been a both for a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while for both of them on my end too.
I think that's it. 1979. I don't know if I should be proud of either, but
1979, and then shortly after that, you went to the movies for the last time.
Yes. 20 years later, went to the movie for the last time. I'm done with this too. So, the way that it is. JMV, what do you think about Riley Leonard? I think Riley Leonard was an excitable piece on Saturday in preseason game 3, given the circumstances. I think he is somebody that you can view as, I believe, understanding the position, but is fantastically far away from being able to play it at the level that is necessary. And I think as of right now, he's similar to Chad Kelly and similar to Sam Ehlinger. You hope that maybe something can be done. But I thought that it was an exciting point that he made and looked good and really threw to Laquan Treadwell on that touchdown catch. Pass, catch, run to the end zone. The best ball we have seen from a Colts quarterback in forever. But that, to me, does not equate to the situation that they're in right now. This is from Stephen in McCordsville. Had to send this into the show, the largest fish. Jeremy Wade has pulled is probably, I don't even know what the hell that is. Am I saying something dirty here? Sometimes you guys try to trick me. Arapaima. The ancient fish is like 300 pounds from the Amazon. Arapaima. Sometimes you got to understand. Thank you very much. Stephen in McCordsville says that's not dirty. Sometimes guys got to trick me into saying something dirty on the air. Is that a big? Have you looked at that big fish?
Spell it again.
Well, darn.
Is it Arapaima?
Arapaima.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what it is. Thank you, Stephen.
That's a pretty big fish.
That's a big fish. What quote's that from?
That's not from Jaws,
The
is it?
Fugitive. That's
No.
a big fish. When they're in the one-armed man's apartment looking for clues. That's a big fish. Isn't Mystic? Yeah, Mystic is right up there off of the Pendleton Pike exit. It is awesome since Brent and Lisa Halverson and others have taken it over. And it is a destination location. It is awesome. So if you remember it back in the day, this is completely different and a fantastic destination. This is year number 3 we've done not only the Friday show from there, but also the Saturday night JMV takeover from there. And we get so many listeners, friends of the show, friends in general, to join us. And it makes it for a great time. And as you know, we're always going to bring the food and the beverage. Shout out to Tommy Lee Jones. Great call on the Fugitive. That's a big fish. JMV, tell that guy we eat the fish we catch in Indiana. We've done it for generations. What about the mercury from burning coal? No. It's pretty funny. You guys aren't eating any fish from the White River or Geist, are you? Come on now. I know that we have an expert. We have a bass master. The Babe Winkleman of this show is Calvin Fitch from Kokomo. And I know Calvin will more than just occasionally fish in Geist. And I'm assuming that he is catch and release. Nobody's eating that, right? JMV, can we stop talking about Riley Leonard? No one with basic football IQ even thinks about that dude. Somebody asked me and I felt compelled to answer, Brian. JMV, LOL, as dirty like what? Come on, stop it. JMV, a bow fisherman shot one in 2017. Here's the story. Historically, we are on the fringe of their natural range. DNR determined it was a stocked alligator gar from Kentucky. On top of that, kudos JMV on the Frederick Sykes reference from The Fugitive. He has a more accurate yeah, I love The Fugitive, but how in the world did they let Frederick Sykes off? We're looking for a one-armed man. There's a one-armed man. He was brought in a year ago. No clues, nothing? I mean, you wrestled with Harrison Ford in the floor, and my goodness, those guys at Chicago PD. How'd you not? Yeah, then logically, it's probably him. I almost thought that was funny. God, I love The Fugitive, though. It is a great film. But if you watch it like 9,000 times, as I've watched it 9,000 times, there are the occasional flaw that you come across there. No question. That is pretty awesome. JMV, I'm sure nobody thought Brock Purdy would turn into what he turned into either. Yeah. Hey, listen. I'm just telling you, I'm not trying to persuade you not to be excited about Saturday. But for goodness sake, don't get your hopes up that Riley Leonard's Brock Purdy. I'm not telling you to dismiss it because, as we know, because mostly the worst has happened around here, anything can happen. But if you're going to bring that up in casual conversation, it's probably not necessary right now because that Saturday does not equate to what might be. It's going to take a lot more for, I think, anybody to buy that. Joe from Mooresville, thank you, Joe, for that, too. There's a lot more in general. And I know you guys are riding on hope. I said this on Monday's show. I didn't want to squash your hopes of Riley Leonard from Saturday, but there are a big difference. There's a big difference. Here's what you have to hope. You have to hope, and we'll start with week number 1 since that's who's going to be under center. Like Dan Orlovsky and I, we have different takes on Miami. He's more of a believer in Miami. He's more of a believer in that defense. I think that it's a perfect opportunity for the Colts to come out with Daniel Jones, who is far from spectacular, but could end up giving the Colts the steadiness under center that clearly they're looking for. You have given up the big play mentality for somebody who can efficiently manage your football team offensively. And then you're going from there. It used to be you need a quarterback to make your weapons. Now you're hoping that your weapons make your quarterback. And along the way, there are not massive mistakes. The decisions are better. And oftentimes what we see are just the lack of decisions with Richardson in terms of throwing the football. You know, what the Colts talk about, what Shane Steichen talks about is the decisions to get personnel operating in the right position, to make the right read, the right decision. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for it from more of, well, he just overthrew his wide receiver by 15 yards with a 10-yard out pass play down the field. They are looking for what puts these guys in position to succeed. I believe they have that opportunity in week number 1. I do believe that against Miami. Dan Orlovsky, maybe not so much a little bit earlier. He's more of a firm believer in the Dolphins. If you missed that, the podcast at 1075thefan.com. 317-239-1070. More of your conversation. That is the text line if you want to go there, or 239-1070, the phones. Where are we as far as the Fantasy Football League?
We have, I believe, 3 spots left open right now.
3. And I've got to give one to my good friend Paul Montgomery, who wants in. Paul wants in. So we probably ought to figure out the final 2 here relatively soon, right? This week?
Yep. I'd imagine.
Is the draft still scheduled on Labor Day night?
Draft is still scheduled for Labor Day night.
I don't want you guys taking advantage of me because I'm incredibly hungover, all right? I may need a little helper there. If all of a sudden, James, if you start seeing my pick slide by with the clock running out, then you know you may have to call and wake my ass up.
You don't want to rely on the auto draft feature?
The auto draft feature, that's how I ended up with like 15 running backs one year, I think. Wait a minute, the auto draft.
It's a bold strategy right there.
So, yeah, just wake me up. If you wouldn't mind. Look at Bill Searing. Shout out to Billy Searing right there. Former Perry Meridian standout, who I believe wants to start playing some hoop. We may have to find some new guys. This is going to be the second night, I blank you not on this, James, where I'm supposed to be playing pickup basketball, and the dreaded not enough to play problem happens.
Is James Boyd going to be joining you tonight?
James is not a weekday guy. He's the Sunday guy. Sunday looks to be good either Sunday, and I'll be really hungover for that. But that's okay. I've played hungover before. That's all good. But, yeah, I'm disappointed. Tuesday night, not enough to play. I said I'll go full court 2-on-2, and there were no takers. And then tonight, evidently, there's not enough to play at Greenwood Christian. I said, I'll go full court 2-on-2, not enough takers.
Y'all ever just play a game of horse or anything fun like that? No,
I think that's
It's got to be actual.
If I'm going to play,
competition.
we're going to play, and we're going to run some floor.
Gotcha.
All right, there are going to be consequences. We're going to run the floor. We're not playing 3-on-3 half court. If you got 6 people there, let's do a little full court action.
If you're taking your foot out of the boot, you're going to run, is what you're saying.
We're going to run.
Gotcha.
We are going to run. Rick from Galaxy Concrete Coatings. Shout out. They're a sponsor of the station, too. Well done right there. I think they're also on B upstairs, too. I hear that stuff on B. Hey, shout out from Napa, Idaho. We'll give Idaho a shout-out for listening to the show coming up on the other side. You and I mentioned 239-1070 if you want to phone. We've got time for you. Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day coming up in less than 20. 50 in betting, 50 in dining, courtesy of Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. The Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day before we bail at 6. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
No, we knew. We knew he was wrong. We knew it was going to take time. I think everybody knew. Yeah, I think we knew. And we knew it was going to be a little bit of a roller coaster. Absolutely. I mean, just his history in college. And so that's just part of the growth. No, sometimes you got to take a swing. We took a swing. And look, I'm not ready to say that we missed because I don't think we have yet. I think Anthony has a bright future. I believe that.
That's what you have to say. There is clearly zero evidence of that. Chris Ballard a little bit earlier today, and the lack of evidence is year number 3, week number 1, and being the backup quarterback. But that's what you have to say. And they did take a swing and absolutely struck out to this point. And you're going to say, well, they took a swing. What else were they going to do? What would be the better idea? As I've stated, any other idea, any other player that can give you even a modest level of results or production would have been better than this swing and a miss. And I understand that it's not a fair evaluation, it's not a fair gauge, but I don't make the rules. When you're in this position, you cannot whiff on a number 4 overall. It just can't happen. And you sure as hell can't have it happen and have 0 results going into year number 9. All right? I don't make the rules, I just describe them. And really, what you should be talking about is the incredible great fortune, if you think I'm being too hardcore, on the fact that you're going into year number 9 with these lack of even modest results. I know sometimes being fair, sometimes being honest, and the truth hurts, but it's a hardcore gig. That's why there are so few that are doing it. And they're going to recycle you. The Colts haven't. So that's the good part about it. It's a tough scale, but it's the gig they got into. JMV, did Holder push back on Ballard after he accused Holder of not listening? Did you hear that? I didn't. I heard that. I don't know if he did or not.
I did not hear that.
Yeah. I think that was the saltiness that a lot of people charge Chris with being was his response to Stephen Holder. I just kind of thought the same thing. As always, haven't been in that situation before, and that's okay. Hey, listen, it's funny. When I mentioned that, I wasn't talking about, because I didn't talk to Chris last year. But both Chris and Shane walked by my broadcast place at the Combine at the convention center, and that's when, remember when Chris yelled, "Are you going through a midlife crisis?" And I thought that was great. Seriously. I sit here 3 hours a day and rag on the job and critical of their jobs. If they want to come back at me, I would be coming back at me too. In whatever form and whatever fashion. I wouldn't like me either. It sucks sometimes to be in this situation, but it's the situation that you're in, and it's absolutely the situation you live in with the lack of results. There's no way around it. I'm absolutely hoping for a hungover JMV on draft day. Make him pay for it. JMV, you're 55 years old. What are you talking about partying so much? Aren't you too old for it? I'll be too old for it when I'm dead. That's true. I'm never going to be too old for it. Well, I'm dead, I guess. And then I'm just going to come back and like haunt people that are having fun that didn't invite me to their party as a ghost. I tell that story about my mom all the time, right? My mom said, my mom's got all these antiques and stuff down there. She says, if you sell my stuff, I'm going to come back and haunt you. And I damn straight believe that that's the case. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with this 1860s binder book. She says she's going to haunt me. JMV, greetings from Napa, Idaho, the high school hometown of the Colts great Rob Morris. Enjoying your show, laying on the couch, recovering from ACL surgery because I insist on still playing basketball in my 50s. Hey, Patrick, shout out to you, man. Keep on keeping on. One of these days, I can promise, relatively soon, it may not be an ACL. It's probably going to be an Achilles. I'll be in a similar situation. Count on it. Even if the Colts sneak into the postseason with Daniel Jones and lose in the first round, seems like that would just cement our place in the land of mediocrity. But maybe Jones surprises us all. Hope springs eternal. Patrick from Napa, Idaho, recovering from ACL surgery. I would guess if they make the postseason that everybody's going to be excited and everybody returns. I think that's where you draw the line. And you may not view that as spectacular enough for a reboot, but I think that would get the job done again. JMV, even if the Colts make the postseason with Jones, they will get bounced in the first round. Do you really trust Ballard with another quarterback pick? Well, what do you think? I've been out on this 3 years ago, but I do think ultimately that's going to be the criteria of whether or not this group returns. That is going to be, in my opinion, the judgment. Justin's at 239-1070 right now. Hello, Justin. How are you?
What's going on, John? How you doing today?
Good to hear from you, Justin.
You as well. Hey, the only thing I'm really looking forward to this season is the remotes on Friday.
What about one more time?
Or your remote broadcast on Fridays.
Yes. What about them again?
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Oh, I'm sorry, Justin. My bad. I'm out in La La Land right now. My bad.
It's
yes.
all right, man.
Now, are you coming to Mystic Waters this Friday?
That I cannot do. We will be out of town.
Oh, well, hey, we're not starting out on a good note, but the Bud Light Blue Fridays start a week later. Well, it's that Taylor's Pub in Nora because I think Andrew Catalan of CBS is asking the location to go. So that's Taylor's Pub in Nora to start out Bud Light Blue Friday prior to week number 1. You're going to be there, though, right, Justin?
Oh, man, yeah, that's awesome. That's just down the street from my house.
Oh, yeah, we love that. Shout out to Kyle and the gang at Taylor's Pub in Nora. By the way, Kyle and Taylor's Pub, they're bringing out some food for us coming up on Friday at Mystic Waters Campground, too. So that's excellent.
Excellent. Sounds tasty. So, hey, what's the competition going to be this year? Last year it was the football toss.
Well, here's what I've done, Justin, and I have listened, and I trust those that join us every Friday, that some want us to have that blind draw again. All right, for some, the football toss is going to be there because ultimately that could win somebody a trip to the Super Bowl, which is awesome. But I know many want me to announce names like I used to. So I believe we are bringing that back as well. The announcement of those that win tickets in the place, whereas in the past it's been kind of a QR code and you learn, I think, via a text. I think people there want me to announce a name or two. So I think we're going to start that as well coming up. So that is an old school measure that we used to do that I think we're going to bring back to a degree this year.
Bring it all the way back. Reward the people that show up and hang out.
See, that's exactly what people, Justin, have said to me. I have heard it, I have listened, and I have told those of authority that that's what they want to see. So I would expect it.
And that's why we listen, brother. That's why we listen.
You got it, Justin. Thank you very much. Can't wait. Yeah, Bud Light Blue Friday. That's coming up a week from Friday. Gutshot writes this: you playing full court is no big deal. How many feet is between the three-point lines? Well, we play full court. You may want to hang up on our dude right there, James. Thank you. Justice going, hey, I'm still on. But full court, 3-on-3, we play normal full court when we do. I just can't get anybody to do it with me anymore. I am once again a floor runner, everybody. Harley D says, the day you stop partying is when you become old. Never too old to party. Damn right. All right, if you're on hold, I'll get to you on the other side. We got 50 in betting, 50 in dining. Harrah's Hoosier Park, racing and casino in Anderson. It's the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day. Let's see who wins now.
Yes, of course. The Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch. Right. 1, 2, 5. 3, sir. 3.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Jason Hatfield is your winner. I know Jason Hatfield. He's a good dude. A former BNL star when they were good and stuff. Actually, I think their football team actually is 1-0 with a win over Martinsville in week number 1. Bob Lovell joins us. We'll talk about that week 2 coming up on Friday. Meantime, Jason Hatfield at the Harrah's Park Race of the Day, 50 in betting and 50 in dining. $13.20 paid on a $2 bet. The $2 exacta was $84.40. The 50-cent trifecta, $46.15. That would be the details, or as they say today, your deets. With the Harrah's Park Race of the Day, we do it Tuesday through Friday. They race at Harrah's Park in Anderson now through November. Shout out to Tony Renz and the gang, Harrah's Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. I did want to remind you of this. Of course, I'm with Brent Halverson tomorrow. Tavern Tour stops at Sid's in Noblesville, and then Mystic Waters Campground both Friday and Saturday. It's must-attend events, all three. So Brent Halverson's daughter, Sierra, started a small drive a couple of years ago called the Soul Shine and has been set up to collect shoes for changing footprints. She wanted to do something to help increase the inventory as there is a constant need at changing footprints. For anyone who doesn't know, they're a nonprofit organization based here in Indiana that collects and distributes new and gently used shoes to people locally, nationally, and internationally. While changing footprints has been around since 2004, Sierra got involved in 2021 when she went on a visit through the youth leadership of Hancock County's program that really loved the concept and the people there. We are doing a drive this weekend at Mystic Waters Campground during the Labor Day festivities, so if anyone can bring at least one pair or more of gently used shoes, we can really make a difference. Let's help Sierra show what we can do with the most she's ever taken in for changing footprints. So this weekend, if you go to Mystic Waters Campground, we're going to have a bin that's Sierra Halverson, Brent's daughter, the awesome Sierra, for gently used or new shoes for changing footprints. So think about that on the inbound Friday and Saturday at Mystic Waters Campground up in Pendleton. And I'll do that. You do that. We'll all do that. And help out Sierra and a great cause in the process. I think that works. Cannot wait to see you all up there. Again, Mystic Waters on Friday, Mystic Waters coming up on Saturday. You've got Mystic Waters on Friday with this show. I know Taylor's Pub is going to have some food for us up there on Friday. We'll spend the night and then get ready for the JMV takeover on Saturday. Around noon, Ford's Garage. Richard and Jeff from the Ford's Garage location in Noblesville will deliver the food around noon, 11:30, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then we'll watch a lot of football, hang out, and do the JMV takeover all requests Saturday night from 6 until midnight, live from Mystic Waters. Again, that's off of I-69 in Pendleton, coming up both Friday and Saturday. Sid's in Noblesville, Tavern Tour stop with Heaven Hill Distillery. Brent and I coming up on tomorrow's show. Have we worked out anything with Kevin Nealon, who is in town this weekend, as of yet?
Well, I was actually waiting on an answer from you.
So the timing has to be right for tomorrow with Kevin Nealon, I guess, right?
Yeah.
We're going to see if we can't work that out. Kevin Nealon is in town at Helium this weekend, correct?
That is correct, on Friday.
Kevin Nealon, who I want to say, you may have to look this up, James, 9 seasons or close to it on SNL? The friend of Sandler, we know that, was in both Happy Gilmore 1 and the most recent version 2.
Looks about 9 seasons, 86 to 95.
I am up on my Kevin Nealon history right there. So if he can't join us tomorrow, I know Mike Chappell is going to join us on the show tomorrow as well. Got to get you set. College football this weekend. Remember, Marion UIndy tomorrow in Marion. That is going to be fantastic off of Cold Spring Road. Yes?
Rob Blackman tomorrow, too.
Rob Blackman coming up on tomorrow's show. The R to the B is back. Should be great. All right, tomorrow's show. You guys ready? Tomorrow's show. Sid's in Noblesville. Heaven Hill Distillery. Brent Holverson and I cannot wait to see you there. The legendary Sid's beginning at 3. You want to do another participant right now? Our Fantasy Football League at number 18. You get an entry. Number 18. Tomorrow at 3. Sid's in Noblesville.